Is it just me, or do I feel like I'm always crooked? Like, a little off. I need to get a new. I'm gonna buy a new tripod, and we're gonna do this right in the future. Anyways, hi everybody, it's Brittany. Today I will be doing a video where I'm gonna go through and kind of just, I'm gonna go through all my favorite brushes, like my brushes that I use every single time that I do my makeup, unless they're dirty, and then I don't, and then I get sad. So, the first item that I'm going to kind of tell you about is going to be my cushions. Now, you can find these cushions online. These are literally just, they're for cushion foundations, but this is literally usually how I apply my makeup every single time that I do my makeup. Even if I'm using a different product, like a cream product or any type of product, literally, I will go into this. I do not like using the Beauty Blender. I feel like I don't have as much control as I do with this. With a Beauty Blender, I kind of am just like dabbing at a distance. With this one, I feel very much in control. I can go into these little areas right here, and to me, I just love these. Like, all my foundations that I ever use, for the most part, if I'm using, if it calls for a Beauty Blender, I'm using a cushion. And I just like it. I feel like they're very soft. I feel like I can manipulate these very well into what I need them to be. Whereas with a Beauty Blender or a beauty sponge or whatever, I feel like I'm very limited to the actual, like, size and shape of it. So, like, what I like to do is when I am done doing my eye makeup, because I do my base first, I will take one of my cushions, and I will just go through and I will clean up. I will take it and I will bring it up through here and just clean up, and then I can also pat around the edges. I find that this is really good for fallout, and this doesn't disturb my cream cosmetics, or it doesn't make the cream powder kind of get a little funky. Whereas, like, for example, because I set my under eyes and my face for the most part with powder and I'm using powder on my eyes, I find that going through and cleaning up with this cushion is really nice, and I don't have any issues where it takes away coverage, or that it makes the powder that I put on top of it funky, even though I have used cream on this. It's weird. And the consistency of these are so soft. I love these. Now, I will say this, you do need to be careful, because there is the actual, like, cushion side, and then you have, like, this side on the top, and they have this seam in the middle. I have found that if you try to take this on the edge and pull it up, it hurts because there's a seam that meets. So that's why I usually will bend them like this and then pull it up like that. So I really do love cushions. If you have never used a cushion in your life and you are a person who kind of likes the Beauty Blender, but you know, it's like one of those, like, I like the Beauty Blender more than I like a brush, but I don't really like the Beauty Blender, or you just want to try it out, try a cushion. I love these. Plus, I keep one of these in my purse. These are great for touching up, like, under the eyes. I know some people use the Beauty Blender to, like, soak up if you're upset and crying. This works just the same. It does soak up product. You don't have to wet it, which is nice. It has that very soft, comfy, cushy consistency that you get with the Beauty Blender without having to go through the process of wetting it, waiting for it to expand, having to, you know, hope that it's dry, or, you know, hope that you can clean it. These you do have to clean, but they're cheaper to replace. I think you can get a pack of them for pretty inexpensive, and I have a ton of these. I literally have like 5 or 6 of them, and then when they get dirty, I can wash and rotate them out. So love these, highly recommend these. As far as applying foundation, I prefer these over the Beauty Blender any day. Staying on the topic of foundation, if I do use a brush, for example, if I have like stick foundations and they are a little bit more drying than those. Like, for example, the Hourglass one that I used, and I tried to use it. It was in a First Impressions where I tried to use that macaroon sponge. I would use this instead. I find that this brush is nice. This is the SEPHORA Pro Foundation 47. And this one just has like these fun stickers. Well, it appears as though they put stickers on it and then kind of just like put like an epoxy over them. But this is really good for that because of the angle of the brush. This is very soft. I think I found this at Sephora on sale for like 15 bucks. So if you can find one of these, get your hands on it. It's not only is it pretty, but it is also nice. And it does, I like the shape of it. It does have a nice angle to it to be able to get into all the contours that you need it to. So this is a brush that I would use for foundation if I needed to. All right, the next item that I have is this. I've mentioned it in quite a few videos. This is my Sonia Kashuk brush. I don't know what brush this is. It came in a collection set from a holiday set. But this is what I use for blush. I find that this is very soft but very dense at the same time. I feel like I have a lot of control. It doesn't necessarily like spread out a whole lot. Like, for example, another brush that I have in front of me is this one. So where this one kind of like goes a little bit out all over the place, this one I feel like doesn't really do that. It is smaller as well. So I love this as my blush brush. I've had this one for a while. Once I started using it, I never used anything else. I think I've tried other things, but I always come back to this one. This one's just my favorite. So next is the Pure powder brush. This was from the My Little Pony collection. I use this for powder. It's just, you know, a basic powder brush. It's not anything too spectacular. It's not like I'm like, this is the best powder brush in the world, because honestly, I go into loose powder and I, you know, do it, and then it works for what I need it for. I more or less use this because this is very pretty, and it's My Little Pony and rainbow, so it stays in my collection. Next is this brush. Now, I bought this on, I want to say Depop. Somebody was selling these. I don't know where she got it from, or if she made it, or if it's her company. I have no clue, to be honest. But I bought it mainly because, I mean, it's a kaleidoscope inside. And I like it. So this one is a brush that I use for buffing in things. Like, for example, if I have a highlighter on my face that is very harsh, but it is like the Jeffree Star Crystal Ball one, I like to use these to kind of buff in those kind of foil-esque highlighters, because it just, it can blend very nicely. I find that I can pat it in nice, and I can also blend it out nicely around the edges. It's firm enough, and that's what I like this brush for. And I don't really use it too often, but I still like it. Because what I will do is, for example, if I have a blue highlight or a purple one, and I have that like kind of gray shadow here, I will take this and I will blend it out along the cheekbones to kind of diffuse it and give it more of a natural look and not have such a harsh line. So the next brush I have is this Milani Kabuki fan brush, and this is the brush that I like to use for contour. So this is for powder contour. Let me make that clear, powder contour. So this is what I will use to go into a powder contour. I find that it is perfect for getting into my cheekbones here, and just I can easily put I can put the powder where I want it. For example, if I'm trying to do more of one of these, I find that I could put it here. These are very dense. I don't find that when I'm using the side that it, you know, separates and causes the bristles to be weird. They stay in place. They're firm enough to stay in place, but soft enough to where I can do a more delicate touch on the areas. I have actually been able to use it on my nose if I'm in a rush. So I do like this. It does come to a nice kind of tip here, it's angled upwards, so while it looks very fat, if you look at it, it does have more of a, like, see what I mean, like an angled tip, where this is the actual top part and it's not flat. Now, with that being said, the other one that I like to use for contour is this one, and this is a Eco Tools. It says Wonder Cover Complexion, so maybe that's what this brush is. This is the brush that I like to use for cream contour, because I find that this one is extremely dense. So I can pat it in, and it's flat enough on the top to where I could put a precise line where I want it, kind of, you know, mark out the areas that I would like to have that cream contour. And because it is so dense that it's good for buffing out at the same time. But I still have that control. So where I could put the line and then I can use this to buff it out, I know that where I'm putting this brush, that's where my product is going to go. And it does blend out beautifully. And it washes easily too. The next brush that I have is this all over blending brush by Milani. And this is my current favorite highlight brush, because this one I feel is just so soft, and I can get it where I would like it. So I can have more of a buffed out kind of like overall sheen look by applying it to the sides. But if I dip my brush in, I can get this very precise, and then I can go along the sides and just blend it out to have more of like a targeted area. For example, like the nose, I can get it where I want on the nose. The only problem that I find is that this is not very good for the Cupid's bow, because you either are going to get it all along this edge, which is going to give you that kind of like white mustache look. This brush is beautiful, plus I like the shape of it. It's very, I feel like I can get this in my hands and have control over it the way that I would like. Now, another brush that I like for highlight is this Becoyou brush. And this one is more tapered, and this one I like as well. It is not as soft because it is very dense, but this one is very good for getting on your Cupid's bow. And it's not that I don't like this brush, I do like this brush, but I feel like while this one gives you more of a natural kind of light, this one is one of the ones that you would end up with that streak on your face. This would be more of a highlight that would be like in your face, and you want it that way. You want to have like the lines that show where you're putting it. Alright, the next two brushes actually I'm going to show you is this one, and this is just a generic brush that I picked up on Amazon. And then this one is the pure, they're calling this the concealer. Really? This is their concealer brush, and both of these are very floofy brushes, and I like to use these for setting my my upper eye and my under eye here. Maybe that's why they call it a concealer brush. I do like this one more though for like blending out my nose contour to make sure that it kind of, that shadow kind of ombres down the side of the nose. But both of these brushes I do reach for when it comes to my eyes. It's just that this one I also use for other purposes. This one I only use for it because it's not dense, so it's very soft, and I feel like I can get it in these areas nicely. It's not bothersome, and I'm only using it to set, so it's not that big of a deal. Last face brush, even though I think I said that last one was my last face brush, is this by the Vintage Cosmetics. The Vintage Cosmetics company, and this is just, they call it the Step 2 for shadow brush. And I use this to do my nose contour because it is angled, it is precise. I feel like I can get up in this area, and that's just what I use it for. I don't really use these brushes at all, these angled eyeshadow brushes. So this is one, which is why I use this one for like my nose contour. Now moving on to the actual eyeshadow brushes. So this is the Colourpop E8 brush. This is more of a domed kind of precision brush. This one I will use for putting shadow really close to my lash line and using it to blend out or smudging out a liner that I put down there. The next brush I have is this, what is it? The Lisa Frank and Glamour Dolls brush. And I've said before, like, I don't really like the way that Glamour Dolls kind of handled their, their backers on Kickstart, but I cannot deny that this is one of my favorite brushes for getting into this crease here. And because I have hooded eyes, I like the way that this is shaped. It is tapered, but it is still soft enough to where I feel like it is very good for blending, but I can also get very precise. This next brush is by Face Secrets. It is the slanted eyeliner brush. And while this one has seen better days as far as the way it looks like now, because as you can see, like, it is just all over. But when I do get it into an actual liner, I do find that when I get the actual, this is what I use for gel liner. And I know it looks crazy, but once you get gel liner on it, this brush is great because I can get just very precise lines that I want on my, I just poked myself in the eye, on the eye and in my eye, but I really do like this brush. I think it's because of the shape of it, the way that it is angled like this, and I could go buy another one, but honestly I don't do gel liner as often as I used to anymore, so it's not that big of a deal. And I find that once I get this like coated in black liner, that this fraying issue is not an issue anymore. So next is like my absolute favorite blending brush ever. I don't know why. It looks rough, and it is slightly rough. I find that if I use this too much, that my eye starts to get that like tingly feeling, like you've been rubbing us way too long, the skin's gone. But this is the Smudge Tache by Bean Grasse or Gâchis? No idea. It's by this company. Now I got this in a Ipsy bag, I'm pretty sure. And like I said, like this one I use, it may be rough, but I know when I use this brush that I am going to get the perfect blend. And this is my go-to brush. I need to find another one of these. You can see that it's kind of been beaten up a little bit, and it's not that it's been, I don't know why it's like that, to be honest. I really don't. I don't know how it got that way. This is my go-to brush when I blend. I always use this for my beginning transition shade. This is my love. She has never let me down. The next brush that I have is another blending brush, and this is another Docolor one, however you want to call it. And I like this one because it is, again, another smaller one. So when I'm done doing the transition brush or my brown transition shade, this one is smaller, and I do like to go more in, into the actual shadow to get more precise and get it just close enough to that brown transition shade where I kind of create that hood. Just to get the color where I want, but not on it, because it's more precise. The next one that I have is a Lottie London packing brush, and honestly, I don't know why this one is my favorite. I think that it is because it is dense enough to where I can get powder on it. I feel like the synthetic brushes, I think they're synthetic, but the brushes on here are firm enough where I can get into like a Super Shock shadow if I need to, and I feel like I can blend out very nicely, but I can also pack in very nicely. The next one I have is new to my favorites, and this is from the Disney Little Mermaid brush set. And this I have found is my favorite brush for applying the inner corner highlight. It is just flexible enough to where I can get it into these smaller corners here without it losing the control that I need on it, because it's firm, but it is also long, so that's where the flexibility comes in. The next one I have is this liner brush by Pure, and this is, to me, I will use this as a black liner as well, but I also use this as mostly as eyebrow. If I'm using a pomade, I will use this one, but not very often. Usually this is what I use to actually like clean up around my liner. But yes, I like this brush for no reason in particular, just because it's My Little Pony rainbow and in my collection. This next brush is another favorite that must have that I use every single time, and this is the Japanesque 232. I have two of these. I have one that I like to use to kind of pinpoint where I want specific liners on the outer V, and then the other one I use in the taco shade, and that one is like my whiteout shade, I call it. So I could take that one and kind of draw a line here. If I've gone too far out of the lines, too far away from my eye, I can use it to kind of create that line from my end of my brow to the corner of my eye, and it will, the taco shade will get rid of a lot of the like over blended part, but it will also kind of create this, once I blend it in with this, I find that it creates more of like a faded effect to the outer eye, which is why I like using the taco shade, because it can white out if you use enough of it, and it can also make it just a little bit lighter so it looks blended better. But yes, these are a must-have in my opinion, and this is just more of a kind of like a pencil brush, but it's like a blended, more of a blending brush because it's not as firm, which is like this one. This is the E10, and this is your typical blending brush. So the three that I have that are similar to this, you will see that this is what I would consider your pencil brush. This one is longer and thinner, and where this one doesn't move a whole lot, this one is all over the place. And then with this one, as you can see, this is more fluffy and more of a blender, whereas this one definitely is more of a precision. This is another brush that I will use to apply shadow on the lower lash line. So these are the brushes that I use pretty much every time that I do my makeup, unless they're dirty, and then I will reach for other ones. Let me know if there are any brushes that you prefer, if you've used any of these brushes, if you have any better alternatives to brushes. Let me know down below if you disagree, why you disagree, constructively why you disagree. Don't just say, those brushes suck because they suck. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you come back for more. I love you all, you beautiful unicorns. I gotta do one of these. We cannot forget the wand. Good.